Okay, welcome everyone. I'm here today with one of my great friends, Jessie Mundell of Mundell Lifestyles, who's a pre and postnatal exercise specialist. She has a master's of kinesiology and focused in pre and postnatal exercise, so it's definitely something that we talk about a lot. And then, of course, my name's Lana Osborne Parody of Blast Fitness. So this interview is really exciting for me because I'm 37 weeks pregnant right now. So, I mean, we could sit here and talk about just pregnancy in general, I'm sure, for hours. But we are going to keep it mostly to pregnancy and training today. So that's our hope, at least. So we'll see how sidetracked we get. So welcome, Jessie. It's so nice to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I agree. We could talk about whatever forever, but I love this topic in particular.
Awesome. And I think there's so many of my readers for sure, and definitely yours because you're pregnancy specific, of course, with your training, that really have a lot of questions, and there's so much kind of general, vague information about pregnancy training that we'll be able to give them a lot of specific answers because through my pregnancy, since week 20, mostly because that's when I stopped getting quite sick on the regular, as you know. I've been following your 2 pregnancy and beyond workouts. So I feel like even just going through the workouts as a participant, let alone as a trainer, I've already learned so much. And I feel like I just want to shout it from the rooftops and give it to all the other women, all my friends and all my followers too that are pregnant, because it's not like it's this completely different world of training in pregnancy, but there's just a couple tweaks that are really important, and so we're definitely going to talk about those today.
Excellent.
So first off, I think before we jump into the questions that I've got from myself and also from our readers, is what's like the biggest difference between a pregnant woman's body and a non-pregnant woman's body that we're dealing with when it comes to training? So like, what are the physiological differences that are happening? I'm sure all the pregnant people can feel them, although they maybe don't know specifically why we need to, deal with them a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the 2 main things that I focus on are really the musculoskeletal changes that are happening to the body itself, and also the hormonal fluctuations that are changing too. Both of those things really do affect how we consider exercise in pregnancy. And it's like you said, it's not these crazy changes. It's not like we're throwing all these exercises out. It's not like I'm saying, just lie on your back and breathe for 30 minutes and that's your workout. It's just tweaks. It's just changes. It's just paying attention to, mainly for me, the pressure in the core and the pelvic floor and the stress to that part of the body. So if we think about pregnancy, and you know exactly what this feels like right now, it's a little fuzzy for me, even 14 months later, postpartum, but just how that pressure feels on your pelvis, how that stretched abdominal wall feels, the pressure in your joints, and the difference that sensation makes up for you. Lots of times for women, it's wrists, elbows, knees. In pregnancy, that can feel very different. They might have sore knees popping up that absolutely never happened before. For me, it was sore elbows, which was really strange. It's also just that we're taking into consideration these hormone fluctuations that do affect the connective and soft tissues of the body. So in pregnancy, the pelvic floor, as I said, it's under stress just from being pregnant. Not to mention if we throw a 5-kilometer run onto that at 8 months pregnant. But the pressure on your pelvic floor is from that baby and the extra fluids and the placenta. So your pelvic organs really are under stress. The hormonal fluctuations, one being that big increase in relaxin, which causes the connective tissues to be more lax, which is a good thing for birth. But we need to take that into consideration for the exercise stress and loads that we're placing on the body, because we just know that the connective tissues support those pelvic organs, hold the bladder, the uterus, the rectum up into good position in the pelvis, and they might not have as much support during pregnancy and during postpartum as well. So it's kind of taking into consideration all the changes that you can see from the outside of the body, but all the changes that are going on inside the body too.
Totally. And I think one of the toughest things from an exercise standpoint is that you can see how, if you don't have very much knowledge about even just the parts of your body, that hearing an explanation like this, you're like, whoa, your eyes are opened, and you're like, yeah, I am feeling pressure there. I am feeling, a disconnect with my abdominals. And if we don't talk about those things, even just to give permission to understand and accept what they're feeling, then they're not even considered when it comes to exercise. So it's like, did you exercise while you're pregnant? Well, yeah, I just kept doing what I did before. And then lots of people don't have these great options to interject, like, oh, well, my wrists and my elbows were sore, and I couldn't do push-ups anymore. So either I stopped exercising altogether, or I forced myself to continue doing push-ups because I really didn't know another great alternative. And I think for me, like as a trainer, I'm always thinking about alternatives to exercise, but I know for my clients, whether they're pregnant or not, how hard it is to come up with alternatives for themselves. So some of these changes are really simple, but so impactful for protecting pelvic floor, protecting the core, and just being way more comfortable when you're exercising. So then you actually do it, because you want to, because it feels good and it helps you have more energy, that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is so key of keeping women exercising through pregnancy in a way that feels good to them physically, mentally, emotionally. I don't want people to stop, but I also don't want people to keep doing what they were doing if that exercise looked like very intense or very high impact or lots of pressure to the core and pelvic floor. There's this gray area in between. It doesn't have to just look like walking and yoga. Those things are great. Let's keep those in. It doesn't have to just look like intense strength training and sprint sessions and running stairs. We can probably put those things into some degree. They might look differently, but again, it's finding this middle ground of a workout that looks like some rehabilitative elements, but also appropriately challenging physical activity and exercise too. You can still feel like you're exercising and challenging yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I think I already strength trained before pregnancy and obviously loved it. So why, and strength training is something that's really important to you and you love it too, why do you think that strength training is a great mode of exercise to focus on during pregnancy? Because that's what most of the to pregnancy and beyond workouts are, and most of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it's my favorite kind of exercise for pregnancy because it can work for all pregnant bodies, no matter what's happening. No matter if you're 5 weeks pregnant or you're 42 weeks pregnant, you can still strength train and we can still modify every single exercise. And that's what I love about it. And I think that might be one reason why women who love to run have a difficult time maybe giving up running later in pregnancy, because they're like, but what else? This is my thing. This is what I love to do. So with exercise and with strength training, specifically in pregnancy, you love to strength train, you love to lift weights, you love to do resistance training. Awesome. We can keep that in. We can get that same physical stimulus. We can get that same mental rush, those endorphins, which is awesome. But we can modify the exercise to work for the body, whatever phase and stage of pregnancy they're at. I also love strength training because I think, from my personal standpoint and from the hundreds of pregnant women I've worked with in pregnancy now, it makes it easier on your body. It makes postpartum recovery easier. So I think that it's so key, especially if we have second, third time moms who are also parenting toddlers and other kids around. There's no break for them. They have to get up and do the stuff every day. They have to lift their toddler. They have to carry the groceries. They have to do all the things. They need to be strong. And we can avoid a lot of long-term issues, I think, to the core and pelvic floor if we do keep bodies strong and stable and functioning well in pregnancy.
Totally. It's so funny. I think you posted a quote, or it was in one of your blogs recently, and it just, when you are pregnant, when you read things, different information jumps out at you because you're listening with different ears, and it was like, parenting is a physical job. And I don't think anyone considers that parenting is a physical job, or most people don't until they're in it, right? It's like we talk about all the other challenges of parenting, like, scheduling and dealing with your spouse and who's doing what sort of parts of the responsibilities, and like growing a child and teaching them all these sorts of things. But what about the physical part? Like, we don't talk about that at all.
I know, and it's so major, especially when you're in those early months and you're not getting much sleep, when you're nursing all the time, and you're bouncing and carrying baby all the time. And now that my daughter feels she's a little bit older, she's a chunky toddler now, and she's pretty heavy, and you have to carry her for sometimes when she's having some rough days for long periods of time. And I'm just always so freaking grateful that I feel strong, that my body's not aching, that I'm not in pain, because to be able to carry a 20-plus pound wiggly thing for minutes and long periods of time, it's hard on your body. And I just think for women who are pregnant and also carrying that toddler, I can't even imagine how difficult that must be at times. So yeah, strength training in pregnancy is just so key for so many bodies.
Yeah, pregnancy, it's like it starts being physical right away in many ways. And then it continues being physical as you grow. You know, I've been so thankful for my legs being really strong because I can still walk around and they feel really good at the end of the day. Even as the pressure's increased in my like core area and I feel more uncomfortable because of that, I still am able to like get up, and I have to use my arms to push myself up and when I'm rolling to the side instead of just getting forward. And all those little things, you know, you don't consider how uncomfortable it would be if you didn't have that strength that you were consistently working for sure. So when it comes to exercises, and we're talking about tweaking exercises and changing, I think that it would be helpful if we talked about maybe like our top 3 exercises that we do want to avoid and or change up and why, and then what we would give instead. Because a lot of people are saying, that's great, like strength training, but is that burpees and like jumping jacks? Because that's what I see on my Pinterest board. Or if someone's not familiar with strength training and they do run and they're like, that's great, all these benefits of strength training in pregnancy, I want to do it. But like, where do I even start? So let's start with, what are your top 3 exercises that you would want people to consider not doing or switching up while they're in pregnancy?
Yeah. So I think one biggie is that idea of core training or abdominal training in pregnancy. And I know that lots of women are still being told by their healthcare professional or even their trainer that once you get pregnant, your core exercise is done. You have to avoid working the abdominals or feeling tension or stress in the abdominals. And it's such bad advice. Like, it just is not, it's missing the mark. So there's a difference between core training, good, effective core training, and what traditional abdominal training that people think of when they hear core training looks like. So for me in pregnancy, core training does not look like a lot of front planking. There is front planking involved at some stages and phases, but it's not like doing front plank hold challenges where you just hold the front plank for as long as you can just to say you did. It doesn't look like a lot of crunches, sit-ups, or any double leg raises when you're lying flat on your back on the floor. It just looks different. So I like to think of core training in pregnancy and ever as working the body, how you want your body to work, how you want your body to function throughout your day. So it looks like Palloff presses where you're trying to avoid rotation. It looks like squatting, lunging. These things involve the core and the pelvic floor so much. It looks like doing rows, which are pulling exercises, pushing exercises, which might be push-ups, might be dumbbell chest presses on a flat bench or an incline. So it looks like carrying heavy stuff down by your sides or up at your shoulders or over your head. So this is what core training looks like for me in pregnancy and postpartum specifically. It just looks like the activities that you're going to do in your daily life. Abdominal training in pregnancy, it could cause issues. It could cause extra stress to that abdominal wall, to the pelvic floor. For example, if we're doing full sit-ups in, say, 6 months plus of pregnancy, the abdominal wall is really starting to stretch and perhaps grow at that point. The connective tissue down the midline of the belly, the linea alba, it's getting more lax. It's getting a bit more stretched and weak. And so we just don't want to, if we can avoid it, putting extra stress on that linealba. The other things with crunches and sit-ups, it could potentially put more stress downwards on the pelvic floor. Pregnancy is really good in itself of putting stress on the pelvic floor, so we don't need to increase it, again, if we can avoid it. So that's kind of the biggest tweak, is just core training versus abdominal training, and what do those differences look like. The other biggie, I love that you said burpees. I usually tell my clients that friends don't let friends do burpees in pregnancy. Because why? If the idea of the burpee is to get your heart rate up, then there's so many other exercises I would prefer you to choose to get your heart rate up. A set of 15 body weight squats at 37 weeks pregnant is sure as heck going to get your heart rate up. Even just like talking on this interview is probably going to get your heart rate up. So difficult at the end of pregnancy just to talk. So cardio and conditioning in pregnancy, we absolutely can keep that in. But it's just going to look different. It might not be sprints. It might be incline walking on a treadmill, which will totally kick your butt if you get that incline up enough, if you get the speed working for you. It might look like strength training exercises into a circuit that is cardio conditioning for you. So cardio and conditioning just does not have to be bouncing along on the elliptical. It can look very different, but the physical effects that you're going to feel, that's what we're going for. Let's keep it as safe as possible, but still get this effect. And then my third one. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, it just flipped a little bit, but I can still hear you.
So the third one that we try to tweak more so in pregnancy is probably that front loading exercises that can put stress on the abdominal wall. So say that front plank, that push-up, maybe like crawling or bear crawling type of exercises, or maybe if you think of a conventional deadlift, how much you're hinged over in that position. Those exercises absolutely can be fine in pregnancy, maybe not through the whole length of pregnancy, depending on how the core and pelvic floor are working, but we just try to tweak them. So a conventional deadlift with a barbell, maybe we change that to a sumo deadlift with a kettlebell, a trap bar deadlift. Maybe we change it to a cable or a band pull-through exercise. Maybe we change the push-up to a dumbbell chest press on a flat bench or an incline, or we do a chest press with resistance band. So again, so many modifications we can use to keep the body in positions that feel way comfier.
Totally. And I'll put some links at the bottom of this interview when I post it to some of these exercises so that people have videos of what they look like. It's so funny as we're talking about this. This is just good exercise advice in general. So I think for some of our readers, if they're coming from a place where they haven't had experience with solid strength training, like lots of the women that have come to my boot camps for years, they're already, comfortable with the difference between core training and abdominal training. And we weren't doing tons of crunches already. And I think a lot of people are coming from this place where when they get pregnant, hopefully if they have access to really good information like the stuff that you're sharing on your blog daily, is that they're actually getting an education in good, solid, quality exercise science and good programming, and they're getting it at the right time in their life when they're pregnant. So their body can't sort of withstand as much of the not super smart exercise programming. For years, my clients and we always had this no burpee clause. And it was so funny. It was way before I was pregnant. And, some of them were pregnant. Thank goodness I did this. And the reason was, why burpees? Like, what is the point of a burpee anyways? Is it to, like you said, get your heart rate up? We can do that with so many other exercises. So many different types of intervals that are safe for pregnancy, or even just better when you're not pregnant. And I think when you start to get your clients to be more critical thinkers of exercise and why they're doing certain exercises, what's the goal of this? Then when they get into pregnancy, they can be critical thinkers of, oh, this really doesn't feel good. Like this push-up that I'm doing down here on the floor, maybe I will switch it to a chest press because it feels so much better on an incline bench. And I'm still working the same muscle groups. Yeah. So
completely. And what I love is when my clients then go to other fitness classes and they feel empowered to be able to make the right choice for them.
Oh, so
and
good.
They don't feel pressured into doing such and such an exercise, maybe that even the whole class is doing. but they just know that that perhaps isn't right for their body at this time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's really about being educated in what is good exercise in pregnancy. And then I think because, like you say, postpartum is for life, it is going to change how they exercise going forward. And that's great, because if you come into pregnancy and you're just kind of doing random burpees and push-ups and, you know, squat jumps and jumping jacks, and then you learn solid exercise from a program like to Pregnancy and Beyond, then it's actually going to help you for years and years and years down the road, whether you're pregnant or not.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And I love what you said about getting critical of strength training programming. I mean, such a good education for everyone, no matter where you're at.
Yeah, it's so true. So one of the questions that we received from one of our readers was from Jen, and she said, the last time I was pregnant, my doctor suggested that I stop doing all core exercises. I'm pregnant again, and I want to know how to train my core, so what should I do? We obviously talked about that a little bit already, but some of the exercises that I've been doing with your guidance for my core include things like side planks. For me, I loved doing side planks, especially through the middle part of my pregnancy. Now that I'm getting a little bit later on, I'm not doing them nearly as much because they're not in my program, which is great. But why would a side plank be a better choice versus like a front plank? I think we should talk about that.
Mm-hmm. So I feel like people can manage that core and pelvic floor stress and loading a little bit better in the side plank compared to the front plank. So in the front plank, if the belly is dropping towards the floor, especially if you're doing a front plank from the floor on elbows and toes, that's a difficult exercise to do well at any time in your life, in your body, especially in pregnancy, again, when that abdominal wall is quite stretched, the connective tissue down the midline of the body is a little bit stretched and weakened, not tensing as well as we want it to. That's a difficult position to be able to have good abdominal activation in. The side plank, we're definitely working the abdominals and the core and the pelvic floor and the glutes and the shoulder, all these different full body exercises really. And people can manage that stress in the core and pelvic floor most often better. So that's why I like to keep it in. Again, like you're saying, I don't love it towards the end of pregnancy, especially in a full side plank position, because it's super tough. But during the middle length of pregnancy and even modified towards the end can work really well for people.
Totally. And I think the other part, just to answer Jen's question, because I'm sure she's listening to, and like you said, lots of people have this question, is to really consider how many other exercises are core exercises. So things like squats and rows. And one of my favorite cues that you always give that helps me feel like those are truly core exercises is that I'm always trying to keep my rib cage stacked over my hips. So instead of like arching my back and sticking my chest forward or rounding forward, I'm trying to keep that alignment of ribs over hips. And then especially when you're pregnant and you have all this pressure in your core, even just doing that while walking feels like a core exercise, you know?
I know, it totally does. Yeah, and that rib cage over hips cue that we're always using into Pregnancy Beyond, and also the exhale on insertion cue that I will say a lot. Those things in itself turn into it being a core exercise, because the core and pelvic floor are going to help support your body during that exercise. So it's a core exercise. It's total win-win.
And I think one thing that comes up a lot, it's so much more popular being talked about on blogs and these sorts of things and podcasts, is this idea of diastasis recti. So I think we should cover it because, number one, there's probably people who either have had it, have heard of it, are scared of it, or just need a little bit more information about it. And it is a core issue. So I want you to do a little bit of your mini explanation on what diastasis recti is so that our listeners know.
Yeah. So diastasis recti is, it's really this thinning and stretching of the linea alba, that connective tissue that runs down the midline of the belly. It's really when that becomes more thin, more wide, a bit more lax, and it gives the appearance that your rectus abdominis muscle bellies, or your six-pack muscles that run down the front of your belly, they get wider apart. So there's this gap, this resulting gap between the abdominal muscles. It's not just about that gap. Your abdominal muscles don't just come apart. It's because that linea alba has gotten wider, has gotten thinner. And it's a beautiful function of the body to allow your body to be able to grow a baby to full-term-ish pregnancy. So that's what diastasis is. And what we want to do to heal diastasis is to regain tension and density in that connective tissue. It's not necessarily to get the abdominal muscles right back together again. It's not all about the gap. It's more so getting good function back to that connective tissue. So lots of women in early postpartum will feel that their linea alba, or that midline of their belly, it just feels really soft and squishy. And what we want to do is get it feeling more taut. So when we need the abdominal muscles to contract, we're faced under load with the body. We have to pick up the baby, pick up the groceries. The abdominal wall contracts. We should feel tension in that connective tissue. So healing diastasis is about getting tension, function, density back in the connective tissue, not about closing the gap fully.
Awesome. That's great. And does every woman get diastasis recti?
Yeah, I'm in the camp that believes that everyone's going to get some degree of diastasis. I don't know how you couldn't when you grow a baby in your body to full-term-ish. I mean, there's going to be some separation to some degree, and it's totally fine. No need to freak out. Really normal function of the body. I always tell my clients we prevent it as best as possible in pregnancy. You're not going to prevent it fully, but then we just heal it as well as possible postpartum.
Yeah, I love that sort of two-pronged approach. We're going to choose smart exercises while we are pregnant, so like the less crunching and forward pressure exercises that we do, the less pressure on the linea alba, so you're less likely to have as severe of a separation. And then also all the things that we do postpartum, like making sure you're resting as much as you can, making sure you're getting good nutrition, making sure that you're having good alignment when you're breastfeeding or holding baby, all these sorts of things that people don't necessarily consider until there is an issue later on, whereas we can really make sure that it's not as big of a separation for as long, or not as well functioning, if we abide by this helpful, smart advice.
Yeah, and the severity of diastasis is really affected by a lot of those things that you're talking about too. The alignment, the breathing, and more specifically, not breath holding in every exercise or every lift in your life. And good posture when you're sitting, when you're standing, when you're doing your daily tasks. Those sorts of things play a big role in diastasis as well.
It's so funny. This is another just good piece of exercise advice. Like, how often do you hear, this is what I did at the gym, and it's like there are 23 and a half other hours in the day. So how you go around, whether you're pregnant or not, with your posture, with what all of your habits are, that's what dictates your results, is what you do all day long. So it's not just about the 30 minutes or an hour that you spend in the gym, even if you were working out 7 days a week, which I'm certainly not. And I don't really necessarily think I ever have, and I don't think I ever will. But this idea that we're training for life and for good function through pregnancy, postpartum, and even if you're not pregnant, this is just good, solid advice anyways.
Yeah. Well, what's so interesting for me too is that I had a bit of diastasis going into pregnancy. Below my belly button had a bit of separation. The connective tissue and the function was quite good, but there was still this separation. And it's from years and years of gymnastics, for sure, played a huge role in it. Lots of crunching, lots of leg raises. But I was also a total rib thruster, a breath holder. So all these different perfect storm scenarios came together. And now, after pregnancy, it's healed so much better, and that gap below my belly button is pretty much gone. So it's just interesting to think of it.
It's like pregnancy handed you the perfect situation to take your diastasis seriously.
Basically, yeah.
Oh, everyone should get pregnant. Yay! Just kidding. Just kidding. Mind your own uterus. That's what they say. So when we kind of shift to postnatal training and some of the factors that we want to consider for postnatal exercise. What would you say is the biggest piece of advice you've got for that early postpartum period? We'll cover both, but the early postpartum period, because I do get questions from our readers. What can I do, right after baby's born, or like before that 6 weeks checkup?
Yes, love that. So I don't believe that you need to wait that 6 week long period before you get that golden ticket to start exercising again. I definitely think there's things that you could be and should be if you want to be doing. So the first couple weeks, I recommend just resting as much as humanly possible. It's not a super restful time, but baby's often sleeping a little bit more or longer stretches, at least during the day, in those first couple of weeks. So taking the rest periods while you can, absolutely do that. It's just your body has been through trauma. And that's not to sound scary. It's just that pregnancy and birth, it is trauma to the body. It is a lot to go through, and you need to rest and recover from that. I was in labor for almost 40 hours and then had an emergency C-section. And it was almost like I forgot about the labor after that period of time too. And that's traumatic to the body. So even if your birth was really easy and wonderful and great, just chill out as much as you can. So second part of the puzzle is my clients usually get back to specific core and pelvic floor type exercises around the 2 to 3 week mark postpartum. So I call that core plus floor restore. You'll get it into pregnancy and beyond, Lana. You'll start in who knows how long, maybe a month.
Maybe next week. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No.
So that's a specific 8-week long program that we start into, again, 2 or 3 weeks postpartum. 8-ish minutes a day of some breathing, some stretching, some reconnection to the core and pelvic floor, again, to make sure things are functioning really well. So the timing of your pelvic floor contraction is good. You can release and relax your pelvic floor really well. You're not feeling like pain in your tailbone or really tense and bulgy in your pelvic floor. You feel like you can connect back to those abdominal muscles again. It doesn't just feel super loosey-goosey to you. So that's what we start around 2 to 3 weeks postpartum. And then for me, I think we can get back to a little bit more strength training that still looks very rehab-y around 4 to 6 weeks postpartum. Again, if you want to. If you don't want to, totally cool. Wait as long as you need to. But even for myself, at 4 weeks post C-section, I got back to 2 strength training workouts a week. And I felt really good doing that. Had no pain, no increased bleeding, no issues. Again, it's very gentle. It's very rehab-based. I hesitate to use the word workout because it is so basic. And all these things, again, are to make the body function better, to make the body feel better, to make yourself feel better mentally and emotionally. So that's where I come at it, from early postpartum.
Yeah. I think before we discuss a little bit later postpartum exercise, this idea of all or nothing with exercise is something that pregnancy really challenges you to change your kind of tune on. For me, luckily, I had some injuries that I had to deal with in the last couple of years, and I think that it helped prepare me mentally for just the mindset that I would go about pregnancy training with, because a lot of people, it's like either we're exercising and it's hard and it's what it used to look like, or we're not exercising at all. And I think what you're saying is a lot of people don't have these tools to know, okay, so it's either exercise, which is running 5K, or going to my local fitness class, or nothing. I don't know what to do at home. I don't know what gentle rehab exercises look like. And that's why I'm excited to have the Core and Floor Restore program, whether it's, from a vaginal birth or a C-section, time will tell. But I think that it's just nice to have that kind of guidance and hand holding along to bridge the gap between no exercise and like super intense or what you always used to do, because that's the piece of knowledge that most people don't have, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that is exactly what happens in most cases is people do nothing until the 6-week mark postpartum. Their doctor says, go for it. You're great. You can do whatever. And then they get back into the gym. They hit the pavement. They go to the mom and baby boot camp class. And it's a total disaster. That's when I hear so many women that write into me saying, I was totally fine until 6 weeks. I went back to do these workouts and now I have a prolapse. Or I just noticed that my diastasis now is feeling like totally different, or my belly button is totally bulging out and popping out. So I think if we can, even if someone does want to get back to more intense exercise in earlier postpartum, if we lay that foundation in early postpartum, the good core and pelvic floor function, then I at least feel a little bit better when they get back into more intense stuff.
So true. So I have clients that have had kids, and have gotten back into exercise right away. And then, I've ended up with them when they're 6 years postpartum and they have, under functioning glutes. They feel like they have a weak core because it's probably not functioning properly. Do you feel like a core and floor restore program type thing could be still helpful for someone like that that's not a month postpartum or even 6 months postpartum, maybe someone that's a year or 2 years postpartum?
Yeah, 100%. It is absolutely never too late. We get tons of mamas coming into pregnancy and beyond that are 2, 3, 5 plus years postpartum. I've trained moms that are 20 plus years postpartum who have gotten way better core and pelvic floor function back. So if you think that there's anything going on, that it just doesn't feel quite right, trust your instincts. And just know that it is not this super intense process that's going to take you the next year of doing rehab workouts to get back to your intense exercise. No way. We can just intermix these more rehab elements into the workouts you're doing if you want to keep doing them, and you're going to feel better for it.
Mm-hmm. I think another thing that's important for people to recognize is that sometimes recurring injuries, whether it's a shoulder or a knee or back, upper back, lower back, mid back, or hip pain, can really be linked to a core and floor that's not functioning properly. And so we get this laser focus like, oh, it's my elbow. There's something really wrong with my elbow or my hip. But we don't look at the whole body as a unit. And so if people are dealing with recurring injuries because from running and they are 1, 2, or 3 years postpartum, I think considering a program like Core and Floor Restore is really, really helpful. And it's often what I end up starting my clients with. If they're coming in and they want, specific physical results, but they have all these other things that they're dealing with, we start with some of these really basic breathing exercises, core awareness, alignment exercises, and it can be frustrating because it's like, I just want to do all the hard stuff. I want to do the intervals and lift the heavy weights. But I always tell them it's like, you don't get to pick out your fancy clawfoot bathtub before you put the foundation down in your new house. It doesn't work like that. Or else it's just going to be sitting out in the rain when the foundation crumbles over and over and over again. So I like that idea of setting the foundation, whether you are where I'm at, 37 weeks pregnant and, about to go through birth and then rebuild everything, or if you've already gone through birth and it's been a couple years and you feel like you want that solid foundation. Yeah.
What I always tell people is that the seemingly slow path is actually the fastest path because it's exactly what you're saying. It's people who did jump back to the exercise or they weren't just sure what to do that was beneficial and effective for their bodies postpartum. They end up in these cycles of recurring injuries for years and years and years. And if we can catch someone at your stage, you're just going to have such an easier time getting back to all the fun exercise, and you're going to get into it, and you're not going to be hurt and injured forever. You're not going to have these nagging aches and pains. So it's so much easier.
It's so true. And I think for the people that are in pregnancy or are thinking about getting pregnant, or are recently postpartum and they want to learn good solid strength training, or even if they are a couple years out, for them to not feel ashamed or feel bad, because the most important thing that you can do is take that step to be like, things aren't working as well as I think they could, and then we're here to help them lay that foundation. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and the information is just truly, it's not abundant, and it's also super difficult to find, and you don't have time in early postpartum or when you're a mom to be combing through the internet to find this stuff, so it's just difficult resources to find at this point.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that knowing it's like I hate to say, oh, the system failed you, because it's not really like that. It's more like, exercise science is pretty recent information. Like, we were not talking about this in 1920 or even in 1950 or even really in 1970. It's really new information. So we're just, if people have had babies 5 or 10 years ago, we're learning a lot of this as we go. And like my mom always says, you guys are so lucky that you're even talking about hormones and strength training while you're pregnant. So the little amounts that you can do certainly help. That's for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link below this video, obviously, when I post it, and share it for everyone to check out to Pregnancy and Beyond and join up. So let's take a couple seconds just for you to explain it, kind of exactly what To Pregnancy and Beyond is, because I obviously am a member and know the great benefits of it, but I'd like other people to have that too.
Yeah, so there's 2 different streams, the prenatal stream, postnatal stream. Lana's in the prenatal stream, and basically women start from absolutely any stage pregnancy. Got a few people last week actually at just 4-ish, 5 weeks pregnant, and people that carry on through right to the end of pregnancy. So any stage of pregnancy, people can sign up. Doesn't matter if you've never exercised before. If you are currently exercising and just feel like you need or want a bit more of a structured strength training program, that's what we're there for in the prenatal stream. Postnatal stream is for moms of absolutely any stage postpartum, whether it's a couple weeks postpartum, a couple years postpartum, you go into the postnatal stream. I always say, once you've had a baby, you're postnatal forever. It doesn't mean that we're cautious or scared in exercise. Again, we just rebuild the foundation really well, and then we progress and build back to tough and fun exercise. So the workouts go in 4-week phases. You work on a set of strength training and interval training workouts if you want to for 4 weeks at a time, and then you progress and modify into the next 4 weeks. In pregnancy, it really matches up for you wherever you are, and take into good consideration how your body is changing. In postnatal stream, again, we're sort of ramping things up phase by phase by phase. So it gets nice and tough as you go through. And then we have our awesome Facebook private group where just incredible. I always say it's my favorite place on the internet to hang out. It's really the best. Women from all over the world at all different stages in pregnancy and postpartum, just supporting and helping each other. It's a really great, honest space to be.
It totally is. It's a huge bonus. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, what do I love about To Pregnancy and Beyond? And even sitting here as a trainer, knowing a lot and having worked with you before and having come to your boot camp classes before I was even pregnant, just so that I could learn and give information to my ladies. When I'm pregnant, I don't want to be thinking about, okay, now I'm 32 weeks. Should I really be doing a side plank from my toes, or, how many interval sessions? I really, really like that it's all laid out for me and I just follow the workout, and I've got my little calendar and I can write down what I do. And some weeks it's been 3 strength training workouts. Some weeks it's been 2. Some weeks it's been 1. And even just looking back for the months now that I've been doing that and seeing the weeks that there was 1 strength training workout, it helped me get to this point now, carrying this much baby, this much fluid, this much placenta, and feeling like, I actually feel pretty good. My legs feel good. I feel strong. Like I can go for a walk and things don't hurt or ache. Yes, for sure, I'm getting more tired, but I think that comes with with it. And then having the Facebook group is a huge bonus. Honestly, I've just learned so much about sleep and a little bit more what to expect. And it totally is a sharing space, not a scaring space. I feel like the general pregnancy information is like, oh, just you wait. That's what usually happens out in the world. But on the To Pregnancy and Beyond Facebook group, it's this very heartwarming, safe community where, yeah, we're sharing information that you do need to know, but it's not in a scary way at all. I actually feel the least scared about birth and postpartum now, being closer to it after having been part of the community, than I did when I was 3 months, 4 months, or before I got pregnant. for sure.
Yeah, I love that. That gives me goosebumps because that's how I felt going into pregnancy, birth, postpartum too, is because I've got to hear all these stories from so many moms for so many years. And for me in postpartum, nothing was surprising, which sounds really funny to people, but I never had those moments that I was like, why didn't anyone tell me this? Because everyone told me this. So it's just, I'm so excited for you of going into postpartum because it's just going to feel so much more relaxed, so much calm when you're dealing with trying to figure all this stuff out, which you're going to figure all the stuff out. And you're going to have the group too, if you can't figure the stuff out. We'll be there to help you.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm sure I'll be asking some questions.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think that we've covered a good amount of stuff. I'm going to share a few more of your blogs that have a little bit more exercise-specific information because I think that's just invaluable for the pregnant and postnatal moms that are listening. So thank you so much for this. It's been great talking to you and sharing all this awesome information with the world. So do you have anything else that you want to finish up with?
I think that the most important thing in pregnancy and postpartum is that you feel strong, supported, and that you have a community to turn to. It just makes the experience so much more enjoyable when you're feeling good in your mind, in your body, and in your life. So whatever someone needs to do to feel those things, that's what I want them to do.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for creating that space for me to have that, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. It's been a great experience.
It's the best. Thank you for being there.
And it's just starting to. Okay, good. So nice to talk to you, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, thanks, Lana. Yeah.